Hello and welcome back to, at long last, another episode of Tash Teaches. I'm Tash, and in today's video I'd like to show you my favourite new feature in Bitwig 5, which uses the global remote controls and the global macros. So without further ado, let's jump right in and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I've gone ahead and created a little 8-bar loop setup here. Part of being a producer, I think, is creating millions of these and never quite finishing them. But with this new approach to working, which I'm now able to do with the global macros and the global remote controls here, I'm finding that it's way easier to take a loop, a rather static, vibey loop, and to create real sections of dynamics and growth through it. So let's have a quick listen to what we've got. Now, one of the things that I think throws most people off when they've created a cool loop is that simply doing different variations of the amount of clips, and what I mean by that as in saying that, this is a version, is all well and good, sure. Like, that's a great way of being able to create different sections. But sometimes the best sections aren't merely something not being there or adding more things at once, but it's the steady moving from one state to another. It's a sort of slow manipulation from one state of being into another. And if we can automate these kind of things by hand with really riding a fader or a knob, oftentimes you'll find that the actual organic feeling of the modulation and automation is just that much sweeter than if we were to draw it in or just have sort of blocky bits and then more bits and then more bits and then less bits. So this is where the notion of utilizing the project-based modulators and remote controls comes in. We're all familiar with the ability to add modulators to individual devices, but with Bitwig 5, we're now able to put them at project level. And what this means is that any kind of device we use, particularly a macro, as I'm going to be showing, this can now be sent to modulate things all throughout the project file, not just on the specific channel. Now, the way that I've been using these macros is over the space of a song. I'd like to have, say, 4 macros that can be used to morph between levels of intensity and energy in the song. I'm going to demonstrate this very quickly by taking what we've got here and creating a knob that goes from here to a minimum. And by minimum, I mean an intro. I want a knob that takes me from this level of intensity all the way down in intensity to being what could quite easily feel like an intro. So I've just loaded in a macro here on the project level, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the track playing, and while that's playing, I'm just going to be changing things. I'm going to be changing the values on things here and until it feels more like an intro. So straight up, I think it's probably best to just fully remove the vocal. I forgot to mention as well that what we want to do is we want to bring the macro up so that we're specifically hearing the changes that we're making. I also think it might be a good idea to get rid of the clap. I'd also like to get rid of this stab. Maybe bring the chords down a bit. And then get rid of that and that. Maybe get rid of the off hat completely. Now, I've just been changing things on the levels here, but I can even go in and make changes to specific parts of instruments. So I'm going to make the bass shorter. I'm also going to bring down the volume of this percussion instrument. Probably bring down the tom a bit. There we go. So this is our intro knob. And you'll now see that as I blend between this, I have the ability now to not just jump from one section to another, but to blend there. And And of course, if I wanted to, I could map this to a knob, and now I have the ability to morph. Which is really fun, but obviously we don't need to just do one macro. We can have a variety of macros. So next up, I'm going to create one that will take us to a sort of breakdown vibe. Now, again, I'm going to whip this up to max, and straight away I think it would be a good idea to get rid of the kick. I think it would be quite nice as well to get rid of the bass. Let's get rid of the clap. Now, we can also, if we go to these effect channels I've created a little reverb and a delay, we can use the same thing to say, throw the stab into the reverb. Let's also throw the vocal into the reverb. Let's send the chord in as well. Let's put this funky vocal into the delay. So I'm going to go to the delay here and we'll make this add. Let's also throw this final rising vocal in. Now why don't we also add on to maybe some small EQ changes, because I've got this, it could be quite cool if these things really start to filter down. Let's add an EQ here as well. Let's start to change the hi-hat as well. Let's make it really short. Bring the volume down. Let's bring the decay down on the offbeat hat. Now this top loop would be a good idea as well to maybe start bringing the filter down on there. Maybe this chord. Maybe we could do something here where we start to increase maybe the mids, not too much. Maybe we could have some sort of chorus on here that starts to really, really go wild. Let's make it so that this is off most of the time, but as we increase this. So we now have... I'd also like to just get rid of this tom. But notice as well, I'm not using these knobs to necessarily mute a sound, because what's lovely is having that gradation going from one space to another. Because as I start to bring this back, and there's nothing stopping me moving it very quickly. I'm going to map this knob to here. So let's go from our intro. I can start to bring this intro up, maybe even into the breakdown, so I can start to mix these two. Let's try a couple more. This time it would be a good idea maybe to create one where everything starts to get a little bit wilder, maybe even longer. So I'm going to add another macro, and this macro we can use to maybe turn up the kick a bit. Maybe we'll have this make the clap, let's put a filter on the clap anyway, and we'll set this to 1000 Hertz. See if we can't use this to... Let's go to the offbeat hat, see if we can make this longer. Don't need the clap to turn up so much. This fast hat, let's see if we can... Maybe this one can turn up some resonance on that percussion. Maybe we can use this to even turn up with a tool, and you can do as many little things as you want. I'm going to turn that up there. And then this top loop as well, let's do a similar thing where we just turn this up a bit. So now we've got louder, and maybe even on the bass we can add a little bit of sub to it. And let's add maybe a bit of fold. I'm also going to add kickstart, and we can use this to, oh, that's probably quite a good idea as well. We can use this to increase the amount of sidechain, which will probably be quite good once the kick starts getting intense. We've also got this tom here. Let's use that as the track starts to build up, just increase the length of it. So now let's see what our louder knob does in the context. Clap's a bit loud. Let's turn up our louder knob. Probably don't need to turn up these hats quite as much. Just turn down that fast hat. And having all of these knobs mapped next to each other means that you can really start to be quite creative. Notice there that I brought up that breakdown knob. Let's go from the intro. Probably quite a good idea to have a macro as well here that can change whether or not we even have any vocals. So up max, let's just turn these vocals down, and up max, this can bring the vocals in. So we'll do it +1, almost +1, +1. So this is our vocals. Our fourth macro, which of course allows us to throw shit in, and because we're using sends, what's lovely about that is we'll get it actually ringing through even if we then turn those vocals off. There are a million ways that you can map these things out. Like I've currently got my breakdown knob up. I can even bring that down. Well folks, that's sadly all we have time for today, but I do hope that this video was useful. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to keep up to date with all of my future videos. In the meantime, happy Saturday and happy creating!